Episode Shadow is arguably the most interesting part of Sonic Forces as a whole. For starters, this was the first time any of Sonic's friends have been playable in a mainline Sonic game since Sonic and the Black Knight. 8 whole years. And if you don't count the storybook games as being canon, which should because Sonic and the Black Knight is goated, just saying, that goes even further back to Sonic 06, 11 years. Now, some of you might say that Forces doesn't count as Shadow being properly playable, since Shadow plays exactly like Sonic. And to that, I say, Shadow's pretty much always played identical to Sonic, except in 06 where he had some different abilities, but in SC2 and Heroes, he was pretty much identical to Sonic. So yes, before I make any arguments to this, Shadow in Forces counts as being playable, end of story. If there's one thing which many people were either confused or interested with, or even both, with episode Shadow, it has to be the story. Episode Shadow's story begins with Rouge telling Shadow that some sort of intelligence division has reported an unknown base of operations outside the chain of command for Eggman's army. The first plot hole starts here. Who is this intelligence division? Just like a lot of things in Sonic Forces, sadly, God, this is so annoying, they're never seen or revealed at all in the game, which does lead to a few theories. The first and most obvious theory here is Gun. This is both likely and unlikely at the same time. We already know that Rouge works for Gun, and the fact that Roll in Sonic Forces is being a spy for the Resistance further supports this. But what could debunk this theory is the fact that in the world of Sonic Forces, there are no humans. This isn't the planet Earth we all know from the adventure games, the place where Gun originated from. This world is now filled with animals, so is this Sonic's world? It seems very likely that it is, especially since we already know about the two worlds in the Sonic series, but then, who is this intelligence division? If it isn't Gun, there must be some sort of animal version of Gun in Sonic's world. That ID, I'm just going to say ID instead of Intelligence Division, can be involved with the Resistance, as Team Dark are the only ones who bring information to the Resistance when Knuckles asks for it, just like Gun. So, I think it's safe to assume that there is definitely some sort of animal version of Gun on this world that Team Dark work with when they aren't on the human Earth. We then learn from Rouge that there are rumours going around that Eggman is developing a new weapon, which we already know as the Phantom Ruby, so no problems here. Rouge then tells Shadow that Omega has already gone on to investigate and that he should join him. And then off Shadow goes through enemy territory. During enemy territory, Omega is reporting that the extermination is going well with that incident, but Rouge tells Omega off for being way too destructive, as this is supposed to be a recon mission. This is very in character of Omega, as we already know how destructive Omega can be, like when he's protecting Shadow in Sonic Heroes. This rash behaviour from Omega leads to his demise, as we find out that Omega loses contact with the rest of Team Dark, which means Shadow must go and find out what's happened to Omega. After beating enemy territory, Shadow encounters Infinite, and learns that Infinite is responsible for Omega's destruction, and Shadow wants answers from Infinite. Even though Shadow may not look like it, he still does care about the rest of Team Dark. Again, in character for him. Dang, it really seems like they nailed the personalities of Team Dark, doesn't it? Rouge is a spy, Shadow is the man of action, and Omega is a stubborn but powerful one of the group. Infinite claims that him and Shadow have met before, but Shadow thinks differently, and that takes to a flashback, which is Eggman's facility. In this stage, Shadow is attempting to take down another one of Eggman's facilities, which ends with the encounter with Infinite at the end. Throughout this stage, Shadow is just being as badass as always, whilst Eggman is getting annoyed at the uselessness of his forces to try and stop Shadow. It's stages like this that really make me appreciate Kirk's voice acting for Shadow and how much it's improved, as well as the writing too. I said earlier, at the end of the stage, Shadow encounters Infinite, but he is different. He no longer has the Phantom Ruby or his mask. But he still got the drift though, no worries. There's a really nice reference to Shadow the Hedgehog in this cutscene, as Shadow completely destroys Infinite. After Infinite gets hit into a wall, the infamous breakdown begins. Infinite lets Shadow's words get to him, and he's a mental breakdown. A lot of people think this is the stupidest backstory for a villain, like, ever. While I partially agree to that, I think there's some defending we can do for Mr. Weak here. Before his beating, and throughout Eggman's facility, we learn that Shadow has completely destroyed the rest of Infinite's squad, Squad Jackal. Because Infinite is also a Jackal and he doesn't seem to have anybody else close to him in terms of friends or family, I think it's safe to assume that these Jackals that Shadow has taken out were Infinite's friends or family. The Sonic comics also support this. Those Jackals must have looked up to Infinite as a great leader, and Infinite must have thought he was a great and powerful leader too. Why do I think this? Well, because of his breakdown. It makes no sense why Infinite would let something as stupid as being called weak get to him so much if he wasn't angry and being called the opposite all his life. From the beginning of the cutscene with his first encounter with Shadow, Infinite was looking to get revenge on Shadow for annihilating his squad, his family and friends, the only people he had to be around, filled by anger because of it. Infinite is now alone. All his power is gone. He used to be someone that people could look up to, a mighty leader to all those jackals. And not only has Shadow gone and eliminated them all, he also puts the cherry on top of it all by calling Infinite weak, pathetic, feeble. All words which Infinite has ever been called in his life. Only the opposite. Shadow's just out here doing his job to put a stop to Eggman's plans, taking out anyone who comes in his way, yet has no idea how much Infinite has actually done for those jackals. And this is why I believe Infinite let Shadow's words get to him. Right, I know what you're thinking. Jeez, Unleash, calm down, lad. This is literally just a simple Sonic game. The writer didn't put that much thought into the story. It's literally Sonic Forces, Pontac and Graph, Meta Era. Come on, Unleash. While that may be true, we still don't know that for 100%. They might have intended for this, I don't know. And you better get used to this sort of analyzing because that's what the series is all about. We then see that Infinite acquires the Phantom Ruby and the mask he now wears. I think there is definitely a reason or two for why Infinite wears the mask. Those being that Infinite may have been ashamed of his face, which he does say in the cutscene. Infinite may also think that the mask makes him look stronger, which I can't deny. Infinite's mask does add to the intimidatingness of his appearance. I don't know if that's a word, but sure, we'll go with it. The final reason why Infinite may have wore the mask is so he can actually control the Phantom Ruby. Evidence of this could be that he is the only one who can actually create illusions using it. The Avatar acquires the Phantom Ruby, but can't actually control it. Now this could be because it was a prototype, but also because the Avatar doesn't have the mask. Even when Infinite activates the Phantom Ruby, the mask also starts glowing, which means the two things could be linked. After this cutscene, we go back to dialogue boxes on the world's map, where Infinite boasts how powerful he is now thanks to Shadow, but at the end, we get to witness one of the coolest concepts ever introduced in Sonic Forces. Sadly, just like pretty much everything in this game, we don't get to see animated in the cutscene, but at the end of this dialogue box section, Infinite hits Shadow with the power of the Phantom Ruby, and that leads us into the third and final stage of episode Shadow, Virtual Reality. A lot of people were confused by this stage and didn't really understand what the heck was going on, which is very understandable, since there's a lack of animated cutscenes in episode Shadow, and just the game as a whole. For those of you who didn't understand what was going on in this stage, prepare to be quite impressed. Throughout the stage, there's the Phantom Ruby cubes that damage you when you touch them. People who've completed the main game will find it weird that Shadow doesn't get sent to the messed up reality when he touches the cubes, and that is because he is already in the alternate reality. Well, we now know his proper name is Virtual Reality. This is why Rouge and Omega are acting extremely weird and not like themselves. It's because the whole stage is an illusion. Now the developers don't really do a great job at showing that this is virtual reality visually. They could have used the effect that is used in the main game when Infinite activates the Phantom Ruby to portray this better, but we move. The whole point of Infinite sending Shadow to virtual reality is essentially just to torture him, using familiar faces to mess with Shadow's head. Remind Shadow what he said to Infinite that day. Who is the weak one now? Now that I actually understand virtual reality and what Infinite was actually doing to Shadow, I find it kinda creepy, not even gonna lie, but I think they could have expanded on this idea. I think Infinite could have taken this torture to another level by making Shadow relive through some of his worst memories, the most obvious one being Maria's death. This really could have shown Shadow being broken by Infinite by reliving his worst memory, maybe even seeing Shadow get emotional. There was so much potential with Infinite and the Phantom Ruby that was ultimately wasted, and that's what annoyed me so much about this game as a whole, man. So many fantastic ideas just gone to waste. After escaping virtual reality, Shadow is just completely lost, until he snaps back to reality and realizes that it was all an illusion. Infinite, once again, boasts his power to Shadow and says that not even Sonic will be able to stand against him now, and then presumably flies away. It seems that due to Infinite's presence, communications must have been jammed because as soon as Infinite leaves, Rouge manages to reconnect with Shadow, telling him to get away from his location as the facility is about to collapse. After we're told through a textbook that Eggman launched a savage attack on Green Hill, Rouge then lets Shadow know that Eggman is in the city, but since Sonic is there, Shadow shouldn't worry about it. Shadow then proceeds to do the opposite of what Rouge has just told him to do, and begins to worry, remembering what Infinite said to him about Sonic. Now that he has a Phantom Ruby, Rouge then tells Shadow to worry, even though she just said 5 seconds ago not to worry. God damn it, Rouge, could you please make up your mind, please? And then finally, a cutscene showing Sonic getting defeated plays, which we'll be talking about in the next episode of this series. And that pretty much does it for episode Shadow's story. Even with a couple of plot holes and things which may seem stupid at first, I actually enjoyed the story of episode Shadow. It's just a breath of fresh air to finally see another character being the focus of a story other than Sonic, even if it's only a short one. Now that we're done talking about the story as a whole in episode Shadow, and I want to talk about the little things. First off, the voice acting. Can I just say this one thing? It's amazing. You can really hear how much Kirk has improved as Shadow. Now, he doesn't sound like someone who is trying to sound cool. He's just naturally cool now, all calm and collected.
Shadow! Should have hired some defense squads for the defense squad. Hey, Doctor.
You can even hear the emotion in Kirk's voice when he needs to. A great example being when he remembers what Infinite said to him about Sonic.
I can't imagine the Doctor would do something like that without...
You can really hear the anxiousness in Shadow's voice there. Understandably so too, since he's already had a small taste of Infinite's power, so what could Infinite do to Sonic? It really is a shame that Kirk seemed to go back to his old and inferior side in TSR, because I really did like his erection in Forces. Rouge's voice actor sounds really good too. Doesn't sound overly seductive, her voice isn't too high, just an all-round solid voice really. Her voice actress does a really good job in virtual reality too. When she's supposed to be sounding crazy, her laughs really manage to convey that.
This is where Omega was destroyed. But there's no sign of it here.
Sure seems that way. Probably because it never really happened.
Omega's voice is also good in this game. Definitely the best we've heard of him since Heroes, which isn't saying much since... Wait, is this his first appearance after 06? Wait, whoa! Wait, is this his first appearance after 06? I mean, I might be missing something here, but I'm pretty sure this is his first appearance after 06, so... Wow, dang. Omega doesn't speak too slowly like in 06, which is good since he's supposed to be the most powerful robot, and if he talks slowly, that'll kinda seem redundant.
Affirmative. I have never known to be defeated.
Omega?
I am not defeated. I am not weak. I am not weak. I am not weak.
Finally, let's talk about Infinite's voice acting. I think we can skip over Eggman as Mike Pollock has always smashed it out of the park with Eggman. Can I just say that Infinite has some of the best voice acting in this game? He doesn't sound overly edgy or anything, just perfect. He can pull the evil laugh really well, and even when he doesn't have the mask, he sounds great.
Oh, I suppose you would think so. Oh, yes.
Go clean up their mess already.
Yeah, I got it. You destroyed my squad. I'll show you why they call me the ultimate mercenary. Take this! What?
Honestly, I think Forces probably has some of the best voice acting in the series, and you can fight me on that. The final part of me talking about episode Shadow's story ends with the writing. Overall, the writing is pretty decent, I can't lie. There are no corny jokes made, which is to be expected since Sonic is nowhere to be seen. The characterization is also on point. Team Dark honestly hasn't been this good since 06. Shadow can be cocky with Eggman, as seen in Eggman's facility, but also shows concern for the rest of Team Dark, as seen in enemy territory. As much as I don't like a lot of the work for the Sonic series, episode Shadow is definitely Pontaff's best work in my opinion, and I don't even mean that in a negative way. This is genuinely some solid stuff right here. I take my hat off to you, Pontaff, even though they were just translated from the Japanese script. Overall, from a story standpoint, episode Shadow is actually pretty interesting. You've got good characterization, not half bad writing, and a plot which takes some understanding before it becomes clear as to what is happening. There are plenty of things which could have been improved here, such as making episode Shadow longer than 15 damn minutes, but it definitely isn't the worst thing in the world. And on that note, I think that does it for the first episode of Understanding Sonic Forces. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, especially that last one. Don't forget to become unleashed by hitting that join button down below. Remember, it is not necessary. And I will see you all in the next episode of this series, where we'll be continuing into the story of the main game. Peace!